Hey there, I'm Greg, also known as the Idea Shepherd, and my goal on this channel is simple. I want to help you turn scattered ideas into meaningful and connected insights. And in these videos, what I'm trying to do is invite you to kind of join me on these thinking sessions, right? Where I'm taking one idea, one concept, one thought, one note card, and I am expanding on it. I am finding related ideas, finding books that I could read that relate to this, finding quotes, right? I'm diving in and going down rabbit trails, and it is one of my favorite things to do, honestly. And my hope is that it'll encourage you to do the same, to go and spend time with your ideas, to think and reflect, less time on YouTube looking up tutorials for notes and notes apps, and more time thinking with your ideas. Okay, so the tool of choice for me and what we're going to be looking at is Sublime. You do not have to have Sublime to do this, but I will leave a link in the description below if you want to check out Sublime. It's free, and it'll help support me in this channel if you decide to sign up later on. But of course, check out this video first if this is your first time, and see if this is the right tool for you, because I am going to show different features. Right now we're looking at a whiteboard, but I'm going to show different features of Sublime as we go along, and also I'll provide some commentary, if you want to call it that, on what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, right? I'll try to do that as I'm going along. The other thing I'll mention real quick is that I do have a little corner on Substack called The Idea Shepherd. I dive deeper into cultivating a rich thought life and connecting ideas, right? The ideas that are like scattered in your mind, or maybe they're all in your notes app, and maybe they're neatly organized, but you're like, I don't know how to connect them. I don't know how this thought that I read in this book relates to this thought, right, that I have at work or in parenting, right? So I want to just come alongside you and nerd out with you on that. So I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to subscribe and join some other idea shepherds as well as we are going on this journey. And I will send you on the first email 2 of my favorite note making methods, right? And it doesn't have anything to do with AI. It's just plain and simple, but it will open up really awesome discoveries for you. Okay, here's the thought that I want to kind of go off of and riff off of. It's titled, "When the Creek Finds Its Voice." This is a moment that I had recently, and I went ahead and jotted it down. I actually tagged it or added it to the collection Trails. If you don't know, Trails is my collection of ideas that I want to explore later and go down the trail, right? Meaning I'm going to create some sort of thought map is what I call it, right? Some people call it a mind map, but it's not really like, individual things shooting off of this. I'm going to kind of try and document the trail of thought. What I mean, that's what I mean when I say a thought map. And it's a visual artifact of my thinking. By the end of the session here, even if it's like just 3 or 4 notes, right? I'll have a visual artifact of what happened in this moment, right? And there will be new notes created that are in my library now, and that can be added to other canvases, is what they call this in Sublime. But yeah, little tangent there. Okay, when the creek finds its voice. So I walked past the same creek that I always walk by every day, right? But today it was singing loudly, right? Last night's rain filled it to the brim, and the moment the water rose, the creek found its voice again. It rolled over the rocks, and it was babbling and laughing its way down the channel. And that's when it hit me, right? A creek can't sing when it's empty, right? It needs something flowing through it, something with weight, something alive enough to move. And I think our minds aren't all that different, right? When they run dry, we get quiet. not the peaceful kind, but the stuck kind, right? The I have nothing to offer kind. But if you give your mind even just one good idea, one living idea that stirs you, suddenly you're rolling again. You've got movement, you've got sound, you've got something to share. Charlotte Mason called them living ideas, ideas with a little sap in them, ideas that root and grow and shape a person. This is a living idea. Charlotte Mason was a British educator in the late 1800s, early 1900s. She came up with a method for learning, and that's through, the main thing is through narration. Reading quality books that are filled with living ideas, and then you narrate. Once you are exposed to those ideas, you narrate, you in your own voice. As you're a young child, you don't know how to write yet, so you speak verbally what stood out to you, what do you remember, right? And as you get older, you continue this habit of consuming quality ideas, living ideas, ideas that are written not in a textbook, but are written by an author who is passionate about the subject. So anyways, Charlotte Mason, right? Now, just one of those a day can fill your creek. One living idea can fill your creek. Just one can help you sing again, right? So today, don't hunt for 10 ideas. Just find one worth carrying. Let it roll over the rocks in you. Let it make a sound. Let it bless somebody downstream. And there's a few things happening here. Number one is, for you, for the idea shepherd, for the note taker, hear me when I say, like, there are moments throughout your day that seem insignificant, but actually carry a lot of meaning and impact, and they can be turned into these note cards right here that can hopefully, like, what's inspiring you to fill your mind with quality ideas, right? I'm able to share this with you because I wrote it down, because I noticed the creek was singing loudly, right, as I pass it. And now I have this in my library, as when I come back to it later in a year or two, and maybe tomorrow, it reminds me I need to fill my mind with the living ideas, right? So that's the first thing, is, like, don't pass up what seems insignificant, right? Take a moment and pause and just allow that to sit for a moment and think about, like, what is this that's happening right now? What's different, right? That's what I noticed. There's something that's different about the creek, and why is it different? And what does that mean in my own life? Like, how does that apply to my life? How does it apply to the problem that I'm thinking about at work? How does it apply to creativity? How does it apply to parenting, to relationships? Whatever it is that you care about, that you're thinking about right now. Let those creek moments turn into messages for yourself and for others. The other thing is, I did actually, associate something with, like, this idea of an empty creek, filling your mind with not just anything, but with a good idea, and a single idea, which reminded me of Charlotte Mason. Now, our family, we do homeschool, and we use the Charlotte Mason method. And over time, you just become great at speaking and writing and articulating your ideas. Like, that's the idea. And, like, what better skill to have than to be able to articulate your ideas, right? Not just anybody's ideas, but your ideas in your own words. So I made the connection. I'm going on rabbit trails. I made the connection after I was thinking about, okay, you can't just fill your mind with anything. You have to fill it with something that's quality. Okay, quality is Charlotte Mason. That's what she talks about in living ideas, okay? And so I linked those two. There is inside of this note, even though there's no bi-directional linking, there is association of people and places and ideas inside of this note. And I don't need bi-directional linking for that. It's all right here, and it's happening in real time. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to use this related ideas feature inside of Sublime. I'm going to click it. So now I have this list of ideas that are related. I can filter to see Sublime's library. I can filter to see in my own library if I wanted to, just ideas that I've saved. If I filter by Sublime, it's like everybody's collective libraries that are public, right? Because every card that you save can be public or private. I've set mine to be default by private. Whoa. I've set mine to be private by default. And so right now we're looking at Sublime, which is everybody's cards. The first one is actually one that I saved. It's called To and Fro. And I've been thinking a lot about circulation, right? I've talked about this in my Substack in the newsletter about circulation, specifically with ideas, right? So to and fro, most of the time when we feel stuck, it's not because we don't have ideas, it's because our ideas aren't moving. Oh, this relates to the river or the creek pretty well. I already know I'm gonna relate that. That's cool. Just to let you know, like each board, each canvas is unique and all that, and that's what's so powerful about these thinking sessions. If you were to do this, on your own and have time dedicated for this, even just once a week, doing this is powerful. But it doesn't need to be this elaborate. There's like hundreds of ideas kind of thing that you have to connect. Like, even if it's just one connection, right? So I'm going to use the shortcut A, and I'm going to draw an arrow to this card right here. One thing in Sublime is, and here I wish I could collapse this, and I don't think I can. But there is an association between the creek and To and Fro. Now, I wrote To and Fro before the creek happened, right? I remember writing this, and I guess we'll just go over it. We'll just go over it. When we feel stuck, it's not because we don't have ideas, it's because our ideas aren't moving. Today, a couple days ago, maybe last week, I looked up the word circulation, and one part of the definition grabbed me by the collar. It was movement to and fro or around something. That word to and fro, I was like, or the phrase to and fro. It just, I don't know. I was like, man, that phrase grabbed onto me and was like, I need to look into that and think about that some more. So to and fro, it feels like the rhythm of thinking itself, right? Ideas come to you in the shower, on the trail, in the middle of unloading the dishwasher, right? In the most random places, I'm sure you know. And then they go fro you. That's so weird to say. They go fro you to and fro, into a note, into a sentence, into a conversation, into a moment of curiosity. To and fro, in and out, from spark to note and back again, right? This dance, to and fro. And it's strange how simple it is. Ideas don't come alive because they're captured. They come alive because they circulate. We've built so many tools to save ideas. Notion, Heptabase, like Sublime is a tool to save ideas. However, it is different because it's helping me think, not just save ideas and buy templates. Saved is not the same as alive when it comes to notes, right? A saved idea is like a jarred firefly. It's still bright, but it's not moving. It's contained, right? It's not breathing. A circulating idea is different. It's a firefly with the lid open. It moves to and fro through your day, through your questions, through your attention. It brushes up against other ideas and surprises you, like this one right here. It asks you to come back. It changes shape because you change shape. And this is why thinking feels like walking a familiar path, right? And still noticing something new. The idea has moved, and so have you. So it's interesting because I wrote to and fro before this one. But what I'm noticing is there is a pattern of movement. I've been thinking about movement and ideas a lot lately, and I think it's showing up in various ways for me, right? These two kind of have similar, like they're brother and sister ideas or cousins. They're similar, but they're showing up and being packaged differently. So I think what I'm trying to say is like it's okay if there is like a concept that you're thinking about, an idea, and maybe it shows up in different forms, in different disguises, right? One disguise may be a creak, another disguise may be a phrase, right? To and fro. And that's another thing, right? I often follow the little phrases that stand out to me that allow me to create and think and process ideas. So I follow these little phrases that stand out to me. When I looked up the definition of circulation, there were several definitions, but there was one definition, this one, of course, that I just told you about, that stood out to me. And even inside the definition, if I go even more granular, there's to and fro. That specific phrase now is the title of this note card. And in the digital garden, like these little titles, right, are intriguing, and they are like little doors. I've talked about this before. They're doors that invite you in. I need to think of a better analogy that would align with gardening. Let me know if you have one. Idea gardening there. But for now, they're doors because they invite you in. That's what titles of notes are. Like that's the first thing that you see as a title of a note. So the title should be something that invites you in. I've mentioned that before in other videos. So I like that. I like that this connection is showing up, and I like that there are different ways that ideas can show up and be disguised and be packaged so you can think about them differently, because it's almost like a filter that brings certain things and accents certain things about the idea when you look at them through an analogy, like a creak or maybe a phrase that comes out, right? So now I have these little I have a moment that brought out the circulation of ideas, and allowing yourself to fill your mind with quality ideas. I have the movement and the circulation and how it came about with a phrase. It's interesting how that works. I like that. Let's see what else we got. This is interesting. What caught my attention here is anchoring my days in habits that keep me close to curiosity, imagination, and flow. So like here, I'm going to connect that. One habit is to fill your mind with at least one living idea. So like, this is I haven't saved this. This is somebody else who has saved this, and they in their library. There's a handful of people that have, but I do like this. I like this. The idea is being communicated in this card. Let's see. I'm going to add this to my Creator Compass collection. Collections in Sublime are like tags. They're little databases. Well, I shouldn't say databases. They're not databases, which is a good thing in my opinion. They are just simple groups of ideas that you can visit and go into. But it is a way of organizing. If you like organization with your ideas, collections inside Sublime is the way to do that. So Creator Compass for me, I'm going to add that this card to that. So now that card, like it's showing right here, is saved in my library, in my Sublime library, and it's saved specifically to the Creator Compass collection. So it's going to show up for sure there, but it's also in my library as a whole. But like, so like it took me a second to kind of figure out, okay, what is connecting here? But this sustained creativity through ritual. Let's do this. I'm going to come over to ChatGPT because I want to dictate what my thoughts are between these two ideas. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to screenshot it. Hopefully it'll capture all of this text and not hallucinate. And I'm just going to screenshot that little portion. And what I'm going to do is I've attached these screenshots so it has context of what I'm talking about. But I will also mention it. I just didn't want to have to read this whole thing when the creek finds its voice. And I'm going to dictate and narrate, like I talked about earlier, just what I'm thinking about these two ideas. And this is the process right here. This is the process of finding new connections. Now a new little seed and sapling may be formed between these two ideas. The connection I already made was about the habits. So let me stop talking and actually do this right here. Okay. So I'm thinking about these two ideas, right? The idea of when the creek finds its voice, which I found the other day when I was passing the creek. And to just kind of summarize here, what I'm thinking is that, when the creek finds its voice is about filling up something so that it can sing. The creek sings when water flows through it. The mind sings when you fill up ideas. Fill up your mind with ideas, and not just any ideas, but quality ideas, living ideas. And then I came across this sustained creativity through ritual. Anchor my days in habits that keep me close to curiosity, imagination, and flow. Anchor my days in habits. Like, one of those habits that would keep me close to imagination and curiosity and flow is to fill my mind. Like, we don't want to overconsume. That's why there's a process of narration in the cycle of Charlotte Mason's teachings of, like, chew on an idea, even if it's just one idea, chew on an idea, and then process that idea, right? And that's what's happening here as I'm narrating. I'm thinking out loud, and that allows like you to not just consume and consume and consume and consume, and then you don't know what to do because you got so many ideas. No, you have an idea, and now you're processing it. You're talking out loud. You're thinking about how it relates to things and all that. So there is a couple things. It's anchor my days. I like this idea of not it being a weekly thing, but a daily thing. A daily habit that allows you to keep close to curiosity, imagination, and flow. One of those daily habits is coming from When the Creek Finds Its Voice, where you fill up your mind with one idea. There is a quote from Charlotte Mason. I can't remember specifically what it is, but it's give a child one idea, one profound and great idea, and you'll have done more for them than 1,000 ideas or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure that it'll reference that. So there's another association right there. There's another quote. But anchor my days in habits that keep me close to curiosity, imagination, and flow. Another habit that I would say, and also this is Charlotte Mason too, is being outdoors, being outside, and spending time in nature. That is what keeps me close. Oh yeah, for sure. Keeps me close to a curiosity, imagination, and flow. I mean, this idea, When the Creek Finds Its Voice, came from being outside. And so that's another one. That's another habit. But that's what I'm thinking about right now. I want you to take what I just said and clean it up, and let's create a note from that using my words. So now I've got transcription, and I in the last year or two have really enjoyed speaking out loud and dictating and allowing something to transcribe. AI, that is one amazing thing about AI, actually. And I don't know that it's something new or profound. It's just that I don't have to write. I can speak. Because when I write, my inner editor will come out and start replacing words and thinking about things, and that will disrupt the flow of thought. So we had a lot of stuff over here. So now we have this in my own voice, this idea that is merging the other two together. One idea a day keeps the creek singing. So lately I've been holding two ideas in the same hand, the creek finding its voice and sustaining creativity through daily ritual. What's the original quote from Charlotte? There it is. Give your child a single valuable idea, and you'll have done more for his education if you had laid upon his mind the burden of bushels of information. What a quote. I actually think I have that in my notes. So what I'm going to do is come over to search, and I'm going to search that first part of the idea. We got some passion-driven education quotes. Okay, I don't think I did save it actually. So what I'm going to do is create a new card. Now this is going to go in my library here. I just copied and pasted the text from ChatGPT onto the canvas. So right now it's just text. And what I want to do is turn it into a card so it can live in my library and I can resurface it again and I have access to it. So I'm going to add, and then I'm going to add it to a collection. The Idea Shepherd. And I think that's it for now. Yeah. So from these two ideas, I have this quote, okay, that came up. And I don't like what it did here. Let's see. No, this is good actually. Here we go. 2 habits that reliably keep me close to imagination and flow. Fill my mind with one living idea, and then go outside. Yeah, that's cool. So we've got this that showed up, and now we have this new note that came about. And just to provide some commentary on this here, like what's happening, I started with this note here. I found this as a related idea that I had not saved. It's somebody else's library. I saved it to my library, but then I didn't just save it. I didn't just say, oh, that's cool, right? I thought about it. I was drawn specifically to sustain creativity through ritual, right? I can go ahead and close this. Anchor my days in habits that keep me close to curiosity, imagination, and flow. I was drawn just to like what 20% of all this card. This is stuff that's good, but in this thinking session, I was drawn to this specifically, and then I thought to myself, okay, what's the relation between the sustained creativity and habits and when the creek finds its voice? Okay, well, one of those habits is, fill my mind with one living idea, and then the other one is to go outside. I now have this card, or I'm going to turn it into a card, and I'm going to add it to the Idea Shepherd because this belongs to that collection, and actually to the Creator Compass. This is another way of how I want to show up in the world as a creator. So we have 2 habits that reliably keep me close to imagination and flow. This is something that's unique to me, but it's just so cool because it's something that was born out of connecting and associating 2 ideas. And with the help of Sublime, I was able to find this idea through related cards, through related ideas, and get more granular into like what specifically is drawing me to this. Like I mentioned before, towards the beginning of this video, I am drawn to phrases and stuff, and I kind of latch onto that and I follow that. So that's exactly what happened. Now we have a completely new card in my library, and I could go even further now, and I could say, okay, what are related cards to this one, right? I could keep going and going and going and going. And I can come back into these little sessions, right, and add to them. So And that way it's like a digital garden. But it's a digital garden, but it's like with mind maps, with what I call thought maps. So I'm going to go ahead and, first off, I need to fix this. This is bugging me. The font is all weird. I just need to resave it. But I also don't really want to bold that. There we go. It's harder to, when everything is bolded, to figure out like what's most important. I usually bold just the title. Sometimes if it's longer, I'll bold other things. But there was something else I was going to say. I don't remember what it was. I'll go ahead and refresh this. Again, it should show up. There we go. I don't remember what I was going to say. But now we have this collection here. Give your child a single valuable idea. And I connected that to that too. That's not what I wanted. Yeah, this is cool. So you can see, like, we've got maybe, I mean, there's just a handful of cards, but there was so much rich information and meaningful connections and insights that happened in this thinking session. And that is exactly what I'm after. I'm not after 10,000 connections and 10,000 notes and all that. I'm after just maybe even one insight, one connection, one meaningful connection and insight. And that's what's happened. All right. This was fun. If you want to dive deeper into digital gardening and connecting ideas, come join me on Substack. Subscribe. And again, I'll send you that note-making guide on my 2 favorite note-making methods. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope to see you on the next video.